What's up YouTube? Redbeard's Garage, and welcome back to another video. Well, we're starting on the little asphalt go-kart. This is it. As you can saunt, we're going to put that other Predator motor, the new one I have. The only things that have been done to it is the governor's been removed and the oil sensor. I have not put the upgraded valve springs in it. I have some, but they're already in another motor and everything. The lash is already set, so I'm not going to pull them out. I'm going to order some tonight, and they'll be here, you know, by the end of the week. So we're just going to run it without the upgraded valve springs at first, just not be too hard on it. And it's going to be one wheel pull. I'm leaving it like it is. We're just going to get it running, have a little fun on it with a clutch, no torque converter yet, and see what it'll do just like it is. Now here's the go-kart. As you can see, someone's put these bolts with the square head that goes down in that groove. This is actually a really good idea because they're like motor studs. I don't know if they're lined up for the right size for the Predator. There's a motor that came off an old flathead Briggs & Stratton that is locked up. I'm going to see if I could revive that engine, but probably not. And engines are so cheap. I mean, if you're going to spend $60 trying to rebuild it, it's not worth it because you can spend $120 and buy a Predator. So it's going to be the one wheel pull. I got to tighten up this bolt and put a Carter key in it, and then of course this just free spins. It's got the old classic brake on it that pushes against the tire. All this is staying the same for right now, and what I'm going to do is just get this thing running, have some fun on it like it is, and then I'm going to stiffen up the frame, so because I'm 260 pounds, so this thing's probably going to flex with me. And you can already see someone's broke and did a horrible job welding that puppy back on, so we're going to clean that up. And like I said, put some flat stock across like this and just brace it up a little bit all over. Then we're going to order, I have a 3/4 inch axle right over there, if you can see it beside that jack handle. That's it right there with that bearing on it. Sorry for the shakiness. That axle back there. So I was going to put it on, but I already have so much stuff for a 1-inch axle. I'm just going to stick with the 1-inch axle, and I think I can buy a 40-inch one for 30 bucks right now on BMI Karts. They're clearance. So I'm going to measure this out and see if that would be too wide, and if not, I'm going to go ahead and order it. And what we'll do is I'm just going to cut this off flush right there, probably stiffen this section up just a little bit, and then cut this stop off and this whole engine plate, and then weld my own engine plate centered, so the motor's right behind you. And then we'll put some carrier bearings or something. I already got some 1-inch carrier bearings I can bolt up. We just got to see how this works out. And what I'm going to do is put the a disc brake on this and a hydraulic one, and that'll be it. And then other than that, I may put a different steering wheel on it, and I may put asphalt slicks on it. It just depends on if it sells, because once the motor's on it, it's going up for sale for sure. So let's get this Predator slid down on these studs and bolted down. I meant to show you, I have also been making my own metal lock nuts. As you can see, if you take like a wood chisel or a metal punch, you can lay it across and hit it really hard, and what it does is goes in there and bends that top. This is a different style nut than I like to use, but it'll bend that first thread down that'll make it into a lock nut basically, and you can save money because these things aren't cheap when you start building a lot of go-karts. So I got the rest of them right there already punched, so let's see how good they work. Okay, so you can see the bolts stick up a little too high, so I've marked them with a Sharpie so I can cut them. When you're cutting bolts, the best thing to do is, I got these marked too. Best thing to do when cutting bolts is back a nut down them and cut it, and then back the nut off, and the nut will actually repair the threads from where you cut it. So let's pull this motor back off, put those in the vise and get them cut. Okay, so we got that motor mounted. I made those lock nuts the best I could, but my punch is getting pretty wore out. It is just a wood punch, really. Chisel, whatever you want to call it. So I think I'm going to run down to the parts store tomorrow. Everything's closed today because it's Sunday, and get some lock nuts for this as well as that motor, because even the exhaust is working its way loose. So that thing is really beating itself apart. Now I noticed the exhaust on this one going loose today when we rode it. I drove my daughter a little bit. I haven't let her ride it yet because we still haven't figured out the brake, and I haven't mounted the hydraulic brake that I got off a 4-wheeler. So I'm gonna go get some lock nuts for the motor as well as that exhaust, and then we'll just have to watch and see. Next time I build a go-kart, I'm going to make sure everything is metal lock nuts. I don't use a nylon just because if any heat was to get to them, that nylon would melt, of course, and you know, not serve its purpose no more. So I'm going to have to call this quits. I'll probably go ahead and get the throttle worked out. That's what we'll do. We'll get the throttle worked out because I do have a few throttle cables laying over there. This one seems to be missing the whole entire throttle setup off of it. So we'll figure that out and get this puppy going. What I don't like is this is going to be a real I'm only leaving this motor on there for a real short period of time because I'm going to buy a new motor plate and cut this one off, like I said, and center it and then put a straight axle on it. But this is just for the heck of it. We got all these parts, so why not use them? And yeah, so I'm going to get the throttle cable, rig that puppy up on here, and then we'll be ready to go. Okay, I'm over here at my go-kart hoard to grab a return spring, and this little bent rod right here is from the factory throttle rod that I bent up to fit when you don't have a governor. So I'll show you, about tripped and fell over a jack stand. So we got the air box, took off this thing, and we got this throttle cable that worked perfectly that I bought for this go-kart and ended up not needing it. So it was like $6. That's why I always love ordering stuff like this, because I know I'm going to use it eventually. So we got it set right in here. I'm actually going to move it to this side most likely, but that'll go and hook to that right there. And then we got to put this throttle rod that'll go down to the butterfly right there and then go up to the hole right there. And then when you push that, it'll work the flapper, and then I can set something up for a return spring. Okay, now you see this bent rod. The factory rod runs from the butterfly all the way over to the governor arm that usually sets about right in here. Well, there's no perfect way to bend these. I'll get the measurements off this one day, but I took and cut it down and bent it to this perfect length so you can drill a tiny hole right there in this arm and then slide this down in it, and then it'll be a perfect new throttle rod. Like I said, I'll try to get all the measurements off this for you to make your own. I was about to drill a hole in this to put this rod, but I remembered I have a hole, one of these throttle assemblies, whatever you want to call it, that I took off my daughter's go-kart because I did not need it with that hole already drilled. So I'm going to do these two 10mm bolts right here and pull this off and just go grab that one and swap it out. Okay, as you can see that I had those two holes drilled right there. One's for a return spring that I'm going to make a little bracket that'll thread right into this spot right here to hold a spring, and then you can adjust the tension on this nut right here to make this not as tight of a action. So if you got a lighter spring, which you want is a pretty good throttle feel, of course, so you want to get a decent spring for it. But if the spring isn't returning it fine, you can loosen this nut right here a little bit. But as you can see, there's that modified throttle rod. Now when we move it, it works it just fine, and it will not come out. I mean, it's the way it's bent, it's not going to come out in any way. So I was glad. I keep all this stuff. This stuff's really handy because it has all these little throttle cable holders, and I actually took one off of this, the one that used to sit right there, and put it on my daughter's go-kart. So I use the crap out of these things. So now I'm going to put the throttle cable under that and then hook it to that nut right there. Okay, so I found this little piece of aluminum. This is made to hold like a little switch or something, I can't remember. So what I'm going to do is cut it about right here to make about an even 90, and then I got to trim down the corners so it'll set right in this spot right here, and then drill a hole for that bolt right there to go through it, and then we can drill a hole on the other side to hold the throttle return spring. Okay, we got that piece put on there and all dabbered up, and got it all put back together. Now we got to put the air box on, and I need to go ahead and cut a fuel line to run up there because when I took that original factory tank off, I cut it. So I'm gonna go grab, I got a whole spool somewheres around here. I think I see it right there. So I'm gonna go cut a little bit off that one and put the original gas tank back on this hoss. Okay, so I made a few little adjustments to this go-kart. It was skipping teeth real bad on the chain, and I thought it might have been needed a 35 chain because that's a 40. But what it was this sprocket that's on this tire. You can see that hub in between the sprocket and the tire. Well, I put about 4 washers per bolt and got it more lined up with the clutch. As you can see, it's pretty well lined up, and tightened it as much as I possibly could, and that fixed it. What I love about this go-kart build is I had everything laying around. I could have had this freaking thing built months ago. That's what pissed me off. I just didn't think about it, and I've been so busy. This thing absolutely hauls ass. So we do got to do a few adjustments. Definitely get some brakes for it. That brake system just sucks. But then when I was getting off of it, that weld cracked. I pushed on this bar, and you can tell where someone's passed it. So what I'm going to do is take some angle iron and go from here to that bar on each side just to stiffen it up, and maybe even a piece down there. Just because I know people, that's what they're going to do, is they're going to grab that and pick themselves up with it. Thing handles awesome. I mean, everything is pretty sweet. This thing is way too fast for the kids though, so I'm going to have to govern it down a little bit with the throttle screw. I'll show you when I do that. But yeah, this thing absolutely hauls. Okay, I always got to tell you about my mistakes because that's what it's all about, you know. So I rode it down my driveway, you know, probably 100 yards, and then turned around and came back, and it was just skipping teeth so bad it was unrideable almost. So came back and I set that sprocket off that tire, you know, about probably 1/4 of an inch with those washers. Well then, and I wired up the toggle switch. I left the toggle switch on the motor so you can still kill it with the motor, but I wired up a new one up front and zip tied the wires all nice and tightened up a few things. Well, then I had it ready to go. So I took off, and you can get this thing absolutely sideways. Even though it's a one-wheel pull, this thing will kick plumb sideways down the driveway with you, which surprised me. I did not expect that. So I got to the top of the driveway and realized, which like I said is about 100 yards from our house, and realized I had no oil in the motor from where I pulled the governor out. So I immediately shut it off and parked it against the curb and ran down here and got some 520, I think is all I had, and I usually put 1030 in it. So I'm going to grab some 1030. I just like that little bit thicker oil in these motors, and it didn't hurt it none. I put the oil in it, and it was definitely getting warm from having no oil. You know, the oil cools stuff and lubricates, if you didn't know. But all is good. Tomorrow I'm going to put a GoPro on it and run it down the road so you can see how fast it is. This thing absolutely hauls hiney. I'm scared to let the kids ride it. It's that fast. So, but they're going to ride tomorrow, and I'll film all that. But thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to check out our Facebook, and remember, 250 likes, then we're going to give away the camera setup, and we got shirts and stickers and hats for sale. You can find out the information there. So don't forget to check out the rest of my page, and thanks for watching. This is Redbeard's Garage, and I'm out.